We have Kristan T Harris joining us at the Rundown Live. Kristan, you were blowing up the last couple of days. Your footage was one of the most prominent footages that was showcased on CNN, on Fox News. You were on InfoWars. Man, this is quite
1
something.
million hits on Twitter. I
Yeah.
saw.
Like, could you talk a little bit about your experience going there? What is it that you saw that maybe got lost in the shuffle when it comes to the situation that we're experiencing right now?
Yeah, coming back from all that, it's just down the road from me, so it's not like I ever get to leave. So, yeah, I'm kind of trying to adjust to all the attention. It's kind of bizarre because I've known you guys prior to me having, this kind of attention. I've had attention before, but not viral where I know that 20 to 30 million people have seen my clips, and that's without it even being mentioned on TV. And now it's all over the place. And I just want to point out for a fake news radio station over here and broadcaster, they sure use all my video clips, So I just want to throw that out there. So, but in Kenosha, things were pretty crazy. Obviously, I caught the viral footage of the officer getting hit in the head with a rock, and I've been over there the last 3 days. I got militia footage the other night, and it's been very intense. It's been really taking a lot of adrenaline and attention to just focus on trying to record information while keeping myself safe. There's so many different opportunities to make mistakes, and I think that's the hard thing is balancing safety and footage. And some people, they don't really mind just going in there and they don't care about their safety. I have a mother who cares dearly about her son, so I would say it's very selfish of me to put myself purposely in harm's way when I can try to get out of the way. So there's some footage that I could have had that I didn't because I was smart enough to stay away, so.
Do you wear a bulletproof vest? What's the
odd armor of God, bro? Joking. Actually, I was talking to the militia guys that recommended that I wear a armored vest, and they said, "Well, what are you wearing?" And I said, "Well, just what the good book says." And he go, "Oh, you got to meet the Lord halfway and maybe get yourself a bulletproof vest." I don't know, man. I'm a non-aggression principle person, and I don't think anyone would intentionally want to kill me. Maybe they'd want to make fun of me, throw bottles at me, or something like that, just because of the fact that some people want to call me an enabler for basically filming somebody and being nice to everyone. And they want to say that's a bad thing, that I'm enabling people. And that since I was trying to keep the militia from engaging with the citizens, I was educating the militia on how to be better. And therefore, I was enabling the militia. That's the argument right now. And it's crazy because I've been at Minneapolis. I was at majority of the BLM marches here in Milwaukee. I'm an independent guy. I don't associate with a lot of the doctrines on either side, the left or the right. In fact, most of the people that watch my show that are conservative think I'm liberal, and most of the people that are liberal-minded on my show that watch my program think I'm conservative. And it's like, no, I can't make anyone happy. They're upset I'm recording militia. They're upset I'm recording protesters, or I'm not calling them rioters. And I'm not trying to keep everyone happy. I just want people to know the facts and have all the information out there. If it wasn't for me being there filming the militia, we wouldn't even know his first name.
It's clearly a fine line.
Thank you for keeping the media free. I really appreciate it. We need free media, independent media, people reporting the actual facts. That's awesome.
As Kyle Rittenhouse found out, it's clearly a fine line between, like being thrown onto a side. You can go there and try to be like right in the middle, but man, it doesn't really work out all the time.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to hold all my judgment because I'm not a judge. I've seen a lot of the video footage, and I think that when I was there, they were throwing chemical bombs, which is like, that's a big, I don't think that's even a Geneva Convention thing. I don't think you can even throw chemical bombs in war anymore.
Was it that plastic bottle that was thrown at Kyle, like the one that people thought was a Molotov?
That's what that was.
Well, they were mixing ammonium, allegedly. Okay, allegedly they were mixing ammonium, and they were mixing bleach, and then he was giving me all the ingredients. I'm like, listen, man, don't tell my listeners how to make these things, because people on both sides listen to me, and I don't want to, really, I don't want to give them, more ammo than what we already
want to facilitate.
I'm out there, they're throwing, there was fireworks louder than the things you heard on 4th of July that I would expect at the White House that are rattling things, and they were shooting them at the Bearcats at the police, and the police were shooting rubber bullets and tear gas. It was just a really intense environment altogether. But there's been some big shifts in energy. I think there was a big shift in energy on the day two when it seemed as though the crowd was going to dissipate, and then the Milwaukee March came, and thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of marchers walked on by, and it was crazy. I knew it was Milwaukee because I recognized, well, at least some of them were Milwaukee because I recognized, some of the marchers. So that being said, that's the night things got that's when things started to get real crazy. But the whole shooting thing which is the big story right now. I have my narrative is basically that I had a bad feeling from the get-go, not because I felt like he was inherently racist, but that he was too anxious, like he was excited, like this is like he's like ready to engage, like it was like a game, it was like a video game to him, and it was like Call of Duty, like the typical almost when Antifa makes fun of the militia, they call them what the Call of Duty kids or cosplayers. It was almost exactly what they said. That in fact in Milwaukee, and I'm gonna say this controversially, the Milwaukee Antifa kids, they didn't shoot anyone, and they had people come up to them in militia. They handled things okay. I mean, there weren't chemical bombs. I understand that maybe it's possible or the even potential that his action was legal, but was it the right action? I don't believe so. Just like it may have been legal because he was getting hit with a skateboard and somebody pointed a gun at him when he was leaving after he called 911 for the person he initially engaged with, and then he turned around and shot him because he was being attacked. And obviously I wasn't in that situation. At 17 years old, I don't know how anyone could have made those kind of decisions rationally. But we'll figure out, I guess the courts will decide what time he spends and what he doesn't. I didn't want anyone dead. That's why I was mad, because I did my best while I was out there to keep both sides from engaging, especially the militia, because there were people there that, in my opinion, shouldn't have been there. They were loose cannons, and there was no leadership, I think, on both sides of the whole ordeal. So all I know, any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Kristan, can I ask, like, when people started shooting, what did law enforcement do? Like, were they present at the scene? Did they like get involved, like try to shut things down? What happened?
So the police didn't even want to be there. That's how volatile it was. I was getting that the cops aren't going here. The radio says the police are staying away. It's that bad. People had bats. People had crowbars. They had shields. They were throwing cherry bombs. They were doing all sorts of stuff, chemical bombs, all that stuff was there. And I believe if I was a cop, I would have just went home. I would have been like, screw this job, I'm going somewhere else. That's what I'm telling you. That's
guys, I'm going home, like Cartman likes to say.
I mean, no, really, why would you put yourself in that situation? Why would you want to? For what money? What money is it worth? And what is your life worth at that point? So for somebody like me who's passionate, and I do this because this is my love, this is what I want to do. I want to bring genuine news to people. I always have. And sometimes I'm not perfect, and people can see that because it's an embarrassing thing when I find different facts that are completely on the contrary. But getting better, that's part of the process, is making mistakes, clearing them, striking through them, and fixing the article, or correcting the mistakes you have done wrong. That's something that has lacked in MSM greatly.
What we were talking about before you came here regarding Kyle's actions, while I can definitely not speak about the decisions he made, in coming there or in doing any of the things that he may have done before the videos were taken, when it comes to, especially like with the last video, if you would be in the position where people would be charging at you, one guy, trying to beat you with a skateboard, the other guy kicking you, and you had a gun to protect yourself with, what would be the logical thing to do in terms of self-preservation? Like, I honestly can't think of anything else to do other than, like, if you knew Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something. I don't know, like.
From my understanding, there was another gun then pointed at him, and that's when he shot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So it wasn't like it wasn't warranted again. I think that the worst he'll probably get is second-degree homicide, but I could see how if this was in a just constitutional America, that he would probably, and I'm not saying his actions, I agree with what he did, but I'm saying that based on American law, if it was based strictly on Constitution, he would probably be okay at some point. But we're going to see. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge, but I do believe that there will be a penalty. I think that there'll be at least one second-degree homicide. They might dismiss the other two. He's under 17, so he might not get a long time. But again, I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I'm the wrong guy. I'm just saying this is what I've seen historically. They can't allow somebody to be glorified as militia and that he did the right thing, because then other people are going to do this. And that's the problem everyone had with me being there in the first place and recording the video. They felt I was enabling them just by filming someone and being nice to everyone. Everyone wants to hate me. And I was nice to everyone. Like, I go there and I don't want anyone to die. I cover the protests. I have my own opinions. That's what the Rundown Live show is for. But my everything else that I do out there, I try to keep as honest as possible. And nobody's too happy about that, except for the mainstream media.
Well, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy too. Like, Kristan, you're like one of the kindest people who I've known. Like, you are amazing. I don't know if it's the Minnesota nice thing, if you just got brought up that way, but there is just something really, and I know you're a Christian too. I wonder if that also factors into it somewhat, but even if you were...
I don't think so. There's a lot of mean Christians.
That's true. I think even if you were born somewhere else, like, you would have still been... There's something in you that I think demands the truth to be broadcast, and it's an incredibly rare quality to have.
Well, I think that the big thing is I have a gut instinct that I can't teach people. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like when people talk religion, I always believed if God wanted us all to believe the same way, he would have created us that way. And because, obviously freedom of choice is the real gift that God has given us, the ability to choose what we want to do what we want to do, and be what we want to be. But that's up to you. And that's what America was about. But what I'm seeing is people pulling down American flags in Kenosha because they're scared. They're scared that there's going to be retaliation because they wear red, white, and blue. That's wrong. I know nationalism is a problem to some people, and it can be indoctrinated. But I think that the hype and the propaganda has put us at a teetering point where everyone who is being influenced by private contractors, by propaganda, that America is at the turning point where we will not be able to come back in. We're going to go into this fully automated luxury communism, because what they're using right now is anarcho-communism to social engineer everyone and get everyone to sit in their little UN Agenda 21 prisons voluntarily, called their homes, under different guises and plans. So if you've ever read UN Agenda 21, it's a real thing. Signed in 1992. This has been a plan for a long time. They wrote it out. And the things I'm talking about, you can research. UN Agenda 21 was signed into law by George Bush, and later on was carried out by Bill Clinton, showing that there is no real difference between a lot of these American presidential regimes other than rhetoric, So
Lev, you were definitely onto something. As much as Kristan has a lot of other things to go on, you really have to say that as soon as you start dropping that upper Midwest, you start getting them O's nice and long, everything sounds better.
One of my favorite movies of all time is the Coen brothers' Fargo. I think that's like one of the best movies ever made.
Fargo?
Yeah, Fargo.
Fargo?
I don't even say that funny. Okay, guys. Hey, I'm wondering what the meme community is going to do, because I see that I'm going viral because of the forums. It's the grassroots on the left and the right, the communists and the libertarians on both sides who are aggregating a lot of my stuff. It's a lot of the mainstream media. It's just that I think the material they feel is genuine. I got calls from 4 different major news outlets. All of them were huge names of people that involved in those industries, and they all thanked me. And they said, thank you for doing what you do, and genuine news. And that's just the thing. When people are told to do a job, it's like doctors. So I'm going to blow your mind real quick. This is a side. It's an important story, but prior to us having Medicaid and Medicare, we had charitable hospitals. That's why they all have church names. So they didn't use your tax money. The doctors were required to donate 1/3 of their time in order to maintain and practice being a doctor. So therefore, you'd have passionate people who would be doctors, because if you didn't want to do your job, you weren't going to do the charity, you weren't going to maintain your license. That's how they did it before lobbyists got in there and said, hey, doctors, well, you can make more money. Let's just get rid of this. We'll just put it on the taxpayer dollars. And we were the pride of the world then. We had the best, or arguably the best medical industry of that time. But it's the same idea here with journalism. If you got a job and somebody tells you what to write, and you can't learn what a proper title is or how to write something, and modern day, when you write an article, you have to think, what is somebody going to search on Google? And that's how you title it. If I were to look for this article, what would I write? That's how you title things. You don't put eccentric titles anymore, because that doesn't reach people. It reaches people when they search on Google, and you know how to label things. All this stuff can't be taught when somebody is dictating you and telling you, this is a story you're going to write. Go out there and write it and prove it, versus naturally going out there and letting things organically versus being social engineered to happen. That
Make hospitals charitable again.
Hey, that's controversial. With robots and automation, pretty soon we probably could, if we gave companies big enough tax breaks for making things like 3D holographic x-rays and robots that can work proper surgeries. There's a lot of great opportunity here, So, I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like, the future could offer free charitable hospitals. But the thing is, we now have an incestuous relationship with the government and the medical industry. And that's what we're seeing right now, is that since we've combined government and the medical industry, we have a lot of problems. They're shutting things down, where even the death tolls be at below pandemic era for COVID-19. But they're just telling you about people who are getting tested, no longer how many are dying, because otherwise there'd be no reason to keep things shut down. And again, it all ties into the anarcho-communism that we're seeing right now. We're seeing the destruction of America, in my opinion. And this is the new way wars are fought. They're not fought with guns anymore. They're fought with information revolution, and the people are going to be used. So this is it. In my opinion, they're trying to commandeer America, and we're one of the two powers. It's either China or America that the world stands with. And if there is no America, which is where we're going, who is everyone going to stand with? So
it's very disturbing. And also, as far as something like Venezuela goes, we have two Venezuelans on the show right now for the first time. So we have John and we have Aso Zurdo. I wonder if certain things that are done in Venezuela right now should give America a warning as far as this can happen to you. I don't know if we should take it that far, but I'm curious. Aso Zurdo, are you currently living there? And also, I would love to hear from John as well.
Well, so I'm living in New Jersey, but I get more focus on the Venezuela living. Warnings that I can give you is, from my point of view, do not trust the government, do not trust on the state, period. And live as far as you can from the state. Because once you get something from the states will demand more stuff from you. Let's say taxes, let's say placacy and such stuff. I don't know what John think about what I'm going to say is that what happens in Venezuela is not because it is happening for the last 20 years, but it happened for the last, let's say, 60 years, which means that the states become very big, very intrusive. Also, let's say the big business, instead of being, let's say, independent, doing providing solutions, they were more likely to be mingling with people from the state, people from the government, and doing some corrupt stuff. And then that leads to what's the Chavismo era as we know at the moment. One of the things is like nobody understood the value of the private property. Means the private property started with yourself, but many people think like private property means a business or a house, and it's only for rich people, but it's not only for the rich people. And as far as I am understanding until today is whatever you have taken from the work that you have been doing. That's it from my side. But yeah, so for America, please do not listen for those who says we're doing this for the people, because this is the most dangerous thing that will lead. And look at it. Venezuela was one of the richest country in the world, let's say this, in terms of resources, and nobody, I mean, even can't extract petrol. I mean, even can have to extract oil. They have to import oil from Iran. Look, look, that's and and now good luck for the Maduro regime because as far as I'm hearing so far, the United States is blocking the oil tankers from Iran this time. I don't know what's your opinion about Venezuela, John. I just give you the floor.
I just wanted to add that Jefferson's phrase wasn't life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It was actually life, liberty, and property. So if you never heard that, you can look it up. The pursuit of happiness was replaced for property, because really property is far more important than happiness. But
yeah.
I yield the floor on that one.
Yeah. Go
ahead. So how would you respond to somebody who might try to say that, oh, well, Venezuela wasn't real socialism?
Or argue that it works? It will depend on what the argument for that will be. You know, what's your argument for saying that Venezuela is not real socialism? What's missing?
Like what doesn't qualify as genuine socialism, right?
Yeah, like what will be the argument that it's not a real socialism?
Well, I don't know, because that's not what I'm trying to argue. As far as I'm concerned, it was like genuine socialism all the way through. But a common thing you get here is people try to make that argument because, oh well.
Well, these are people who drank the Kool-Aid. They're not. You're not going to convince them in an argument here, and you're seeing the outcome of that. Well, about the subject of the stream, really.
I think that's one thing.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's like it depends on what the arguments would a person who says that would have to say that Venezuela is not a real socialist country. For example, the last time I was in the podcast, I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. There was a guy who was saying that Venezuela was actually a capitalist country, and we had a discussion, a private discussion, and we were trying to. I was trying to understand where he was coming from, what was the argument that he was saying, and I did a little bit of research and understood most of the points that he was trying to make. And it's a lot of it is from missing information. Like for example, he was saying that most of Venezuela, that Venezuela has one of the biggest private sectors in Latin America. The problem with that premise is that it's not completely accurate. Yeah, this has a lot of private sector, but the thing is that the private sector there doesn't work exactly as you understand it here. It's not actually private. If you have a company in Venezuela, you don't decide, okay, yeah, it's your company, it's your name, it's owned by you, you manage the money, sort of, and all of that, but you don't decide who you hire, who you do not hire, who you can fire, who to make contracts with, who you sell, from whom you buy. You don't make any decisions at all on anything like that. And if you make a product, let's say, I don't know, you make milk, or you may, I don't know, like shoes or something like that. All the products that are made in Venezuela must have a sticker that says "Made in Socialism," which is like the slogan from the government. All the products made in Venezuela must have that sticker. And that also says that your product, it's not exactly your product. It's partially owned by the government, basically by law.
So you have no control, basically, which goes against the idea of the free market.
You have this company owned by this guy or by this group of people, but they don't have any control about what they own, about whatever they are doing or anything like that. So you have a lot of private market, but there's nothing private market about it.
I think maybe, and if I may be a bit of a co-host for a minute, maybe we should bring it back to the topic of discussion, which is, why do you think that these events are happening besides the obvious, which is political division and so forth? But what are the root causes in terms of, it just seems to me, to go on what Love Cryption and Sophia were saying, is that it seems to me we're almost entering like late stage Weimar Germany territory, where people have very funny ideological, how shall we say, LARPing sort of ideologies on different sides, and they're clashing in the streets like communists and fascists in 1930s Germany. So do you think that there's a same sort of replication of what's going on now, that there's a sort of manipulation of pseudo events that are happening, that are guiding people's perceptions in terms of what they feel is direct political action? Or is direct political action impossible because, as Kristan brought up, that we're being manipulated by a very sophisticated apparatus of power. So it's almost as if people are enacting a play, if you will, not to be, InfoWars conspiratorial George Soros, but what do you guys think of that? Because I don't know, I was going to enter the stream with a bunch of Francis E. Deck posting because Sophia was talking about how to control crowds with deadly laser touch Tabins, but whatever.
LRADs, baby, let's go.
I think there's actually an interesting point about that has a little bit to do with what I think was Lev that asked, that what could Venezuela situation teach us about what's happening today. The thing is that you will be amazed to see how the history of the media in Venezuela had to do with how the popular opinion and how politically things were moving because of the media. Like, for example, there is a famous figure in Venezuela called Renio Tolina. He was he was basically a nationalist, but not as much as how you think of a nationalist. He was more of the identity of Venezuelans and what the country should be focused on, and he had a lot of really good ideas for the independence of Venezuela from all the rest of Latin America, and how Venezuela could be a very rich country. The thing is that within his campaign, he was campaigning to be president in 1960 something, I think.
No, in the 1970s.
1970? Oh, okay.
Yeah, 1970s. Yeah.
Around those times.
He was about to campaign.
Yeah, if someone posts his name in the chat so we could maybe put it properly out there. Well, if you could type his name in the chat, John.
Well, I don't have the chat here, but it's Renny, Renny.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So
okay.
All of the interviews that guy had, everyone in the media hated him, and it's hard to understand. Actually, like looking at it now, it's hard to understand why did they hate this guy so much, and why did they love so much the rest of the people in that time. The same happened when Hugo Chavez came to his first candidacy. There is this famous, I can't remember, I don't know if you remember, Zurdo, there was this famous interview in 1998 or 1997. I can't actually remember that interview, but it was like a public debate, and there was this interviewer that was like the meddling point between those two. He would give the questions to each of the candidates, and it's so blatantly biased, all the questions and all the how he framed everything to the both candidates, that a lot of people years later blame him for Hugo Chavez election, for Hugo Chavez winning. Because
I don't remember that. I don't remember that debate.
I remember the sulfur one on the UN. That was pretty. It seems to me that it's almost as if the international left is, well, at least in America, they don't really have the same figures like they did, where a lot of Hollywood people would go to Hugo Chavez because he was against George Bush, and he was against the neocons. So you have that sort of international solidarity. It almost seems like the right wing now is doing the same with various based leaders in Eastern Europe or in the Middle East or whatnot. But it just seems that the international focus has been gone from a lot of quote unquote revolutionary politics in North America in particular. It seems that nobody talks about Venezuela anymore. I don't know. Or any of these places. That one in Syria, what were they called, Rojava or whatnot? It seems to be that the North Americans really don't care about anyone.
I also want to call on
It's like when the Roman Empire started withdrawing inward.
Yeah, that's kind of the same vibe I got. Yeah.
I want to get Sir Carl Cox on the line here for your thoughts as well.
What's good, guys? Okay, so I actually joined in right when Kristan was talking about whether or not the charges are probably going to stick for the guy. So I am practicing for the bar, so I am studying all this right now. I will be a lawyer hopefully sooner rather than later. But likely the Lake County DA, because they charged him with first degree, which requires a specific intent to kill directly pretty much. That charge is not going to stick, and he'll probably get off pretty much scot-free despite them. There'll still be a charge on his record, but just because there was also that interview with that McInnes guy, I think. I don't know exactly what his @ was, but I think he was on fucking Tucker Carlson yesterday or something along those lines. But there was an interview with the kid, and he's like, "I'm just here protecting businesses," and that right there, that interview is going to be admissible as evidence, and he's probably likely going to get off scot-free just because the DA decided to do first degree, which has an intent requirement rather than second degree, which probably would have stuck. So likely this kid's probably going to get off. So that's good.
They went for too tall of an order, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
Same thing with I mean, it's probably going to happen. Same thing with the policemen with George Floyd too, because there needed to be an intent requirement. Whether or not there's going to be more information coming out on that, we'll see.
What about his mother? Do you think his mother, who drove him there, he's like, "Hey, I'm a 17-year-old kid. Let's give him a gun. You go out there and you go protect those buildings."
Yeah, no, I know that's it seems a little, that's a little absurd.
My parents took me to a concert. I don't know what the hell they're saying.
Yeah. The thing is, legally,
he's like, "I don't want you anymore, son. Here, go. You can."
He's an irresponsible mom. She only sent him out with a single magazine.
Well, the good thing is,
do you think this is really like the Zoomers rising up against the millennials in terms of political, political order? Like the Zoomers literally like headshotting millennials in the head, headshotting millennial pedophiles in the head. So who knows?
You guys better be watching out.
I have always
like
seen
because people talk about class and they talk about race, but they never talk about intergenerational
Generations.
conflict. It's so apparent how there's a difference between what the millennial thinks in terms of political action as this elaborate LARP and what like the Zoomers are going in. And they're, literally headshotting people. So who knows?
I was never a fan of millennials, by the way. Like, I grew up with them. I went to school with them. But this whole thing, like the whole Harry Pottering and just like this whole, you know what I mean?
Aren't you technically a millennial?
I am. I was born in
late stage.
He's a late millennial.
I'm a millennial who
What's
has
up,
rejected
millennials?
my own people. That's the kind of millennial I am.
When does Gen Z start?
The Gen Xers.
When does Gen Z start? Technically, is it 95?
After 1994. After 1994.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm the
5,
first year Zoomer. Let's fucking go, dude.
By the way, we have an interesting comment from Buff. What if Black Lives Matter put pressure on the judge?
Yeah, I was going to say.
You're going to have activist judges everywhere, especially, but Lake County is pretty, I don't want to say based, but they don't take the same bullshit that Cook County would. Like if it was fucking if he was going up against fucking Kim Fox in Cook County and something along those lines, like Chicago, that kid's probably actually unironically going to get fully charged with the first degree. But Lake County kind of doesn't really give a fuck. They're kind of more laissez-faire. And that's one of the first counties that votes pretty much all red in Northern Illinois. I'm from Chicago, that's why I know all this. So
hey, what's
likely,
up, Chicago? I'm in West Town. What's up, man?
Oh, let's go, dude. Yeah.
Look at all the connections. Look at all the connections we're making, by the way. We got 2 Venezuelan people here. We got 2 Chicagoans here. Just by pure coincidence, this happens. We bring the energy. Kristan, thank you so much for coming here, man. Like, I'm really honored to have you with us. And what I wanted to get to though is,
by the way, Kristan's video is all over shock sites like Live Leaks,
Oh,
Crazy
yeah.
Shit, Chaotic, you name it. It's on there. There's cop getting a brick in his head. That's
well, I mean,
that's your video. Holy shit!
I want to tell you that I don't want anyone hurt. Even that cop, I wouldn't want hurt. What I saw out there was hate, and I want people to love each other. I mean, there used to be these 9 words like love, joy, peace, happiness, and thankfulness, and long suffering, and selfishness that we need to all learn to relearn and re-educate. They want to re-educate everything on so millennials, you guys got the microaggressions. I don't get the microaggressions. Freedom of speech is a microaggression now, and it's ridiculous, and people are just offended. It's one of those things where if you're literally creating racism, because if there were no microaggressions and people didn't care about microaggressions, they wouldn't be considered racial.
People are looking for conflicts where there aren't really any.
Yes.
I feel like people just want to be angry. They want something to fight against, and they don't need to.
Exactly. And it's
Well,
by chance.
they all want to feed into this myth that like they want to live the civil rights struggle in perpetuity, and I'll be honest.
Yeah, this is terminal LARPing. Right here.
The people that live the civil rights struggle.
It's all LARPing. Everybody wants to be
for over a generation. Easily.
Everybody wants to be playing this game of heroes and villains where you don't have to. It's just unnecessary.
But this is what I mean by pseudo
Also, the
events,
civil
is
rights
that-
movement was not what you think it was. This is a whole nother.
Please,
I was
please.
talking about earlier.
Sophia, what
It's
make us
just
woke?
not
I'm
what
dying for this.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm telling you, it's not. They just the history
It was
books
literally
are
just
wrong.
a power-taking struggle by a bunch of like neurotic academic fucking Marxist reading.
Yes, and it's a lot of
am
game playing. Like
absolutely.
many times, you know,
These people aren't
MLK
even
would
Marxists
call
at the end of the day.
and tell the police, "Look, we're going to show up here. You know, bring your cameras out. Let's take some nice pictures." And then it will go out on the radio that the police are, you know, harassing MLK and his group. And then next thing you know, the Hoteps would show up and they would start fighting with the police. But it was the first part with all the nice, lovely pictures is staged. And then the actual violence with the real street people is real, but it's because they staged this fake violence. The patterns. If you knew Black history, you would see all of these patterns replaying themselves over and over and over again from the start of this country. It's the same exact thing every time.
Bless the Hoteps, by the way. Bless the Hoteps.
I get the sense that the
Bless
difference.
the Hoteps. Absolutely. Love the Hoteps.
Notice how the CIA had to kill both Martin Luther King and George Lincoln Rockwell. Notice how they had to kill both of them.
Well, look how they had to kill Tupac and Biggie. Like, why? Who was the necessity to kill Tupac and Biggie? It was completely unnecessary.
Yeah,
This is what they
album
do. They
sale.
got to take them out in
Yeah.
pairs.
Should have killed Puffy.
Tupac and Biggie?
Yeah.
The CIA killed them?
Yeah.
I think
This is
my
like a
theory is that-
2007
Joe,
red pill.
the CIA kills everybody. Everybody who dies, it's the CIA.
the glow in the dark.
Everybody goes in the dark.
Dude, I think
No,
they
but even
lobotomized
within-
Eminem in
no, but
2006. Like,
No, but it's funny because about going back to what we were talking about with John Gonzalez. Not to sound like edgy, because of course I'm not a Wignat or anything, but a lot of these post-colonial movements, they were literally nationally socialistic. Like, not that they were Nazis, but they were socialist, but they were also nationalistic. I think that's really the only form of socialism that could ever work, is that if you had a strong nationalistic framework behind it. Not to say that, like, I'm not, you know, one of these like third positionists, but it is compelling because really I don't know what, like, in terms of North America itself, I really don't know the solutions here. Like, I agree with Sophia that maybe a separation between people is the only viable solution, really.
Yeah, I only have a few minutes left with you guys, and I'm going to leave you guys with this before I jump on to the next interview. Is I think in our lives we all experience different forms of government. Like when I first moved out of my parents' house, a few years later I failed and I had to move back, right? And that wasn't a socialist government. I got free electricity, I got free internet, free rent, free food, you know, and I could do pretty much whatever I wanted, except for, you know, all of a sudden a hot, attractive female asked me out and there's 11 o'clock curfew and I can't go out past 11. Socialism isn't so good anymore because the girl wants to go out later, you know? So, you know, it's one of those things where I feel that individual liberties, non-aggression principle, honor your contract, do whatever you want. Just don't violate my space and tell me what to do. That's why I can't believe in anarcho-communism, because if I don't agree with anarcho-communists, are they going to force me to act as if they do, or are they going to kick me out? That's really not non-aggression principle, and that's not anarchy. That's definitely fake news. So, you know, I just think that's just the idea is socialism and communism does exactly what majority of progressives hate, and it consolidates wealth to the 1%. And I thought that's the issue. And if that's the issue, then why do you want socialism and communism? Is it humanitarian? It could be considered more humanitarian. It's definitely painted as more humanitarian. But before we had this socialistic ideology, we had a very charitable one that worked. And for some reason, that's a scary idea for anyone. Anyways, guys, check out the Rundown Live. I appreciate sharing the platform with all you guys. Reach out to me. I'd love to have you all on my show. I don't
doing God's work.
I don't
brother.
thing.
Thank you, Kristen. Keep
We should
yourself
all live
safe.
the neat life. We
Please
should all live
keep
the neat
yourself
life.
safe.
Kristan, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming down. I really
you're the man,
appreciate
dude.
it.
God bless.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christian. Nice to meet you.
All right, you guys have a good one. Stay blessed.
And come back on the show, please.
Absolutely.
Definitely.